So you followed the watercolor tutorial exactly. You use the same colors in the same order, and your painting still comes out muddy and you just hate it. For months I thought that this only meant that I'm still not good enough to create a good enough painting, but I was so wrong. It came down to 5 specific things that nobody mentions to beginners, even though they make or break your watercolor career. So hey, my name is Fanny. I'm learning to become an artist at the age of 30, and on this channel I share my ups and downs of this journey. So let's get into it. The first item is something I never heard anybody talk about, but it actually changed how I prepare my watercolor paintings forever. Because the special thing about watercolor is that it's transparent. And in the words of Edgar A. Whitney, a famous watercolorist, he says, "It's white paper showing through a transparent wash is the closest approximation to light in all the media, and light is the loveliest thing that exists." Truer words were never been spoken. But the issue with transparency is that it's transparent and almost fully see-through. So whenever you are sketching out your guidelines before you start painting, you have to be extremely light-handed, or you have to erase almost all of it before you start painting, because if you don't do that, every line will be visible after your painting is done. And yes, that could be an artistic choice, and you might want to see your sketch lines after your painting. But that's not true for all of us. And also, I recently got my glasses, and having a faint sketch is just not working out anymore. Okay, I'm 30, I'm getting old. But there is actually a solution. I have a product that lets you sketch out your guidelines, and whenever you start painting, it just becomes one with your painting. And it's literally $2. Let me show you. It's this pencil. This is the General's brand Sketch and Wash water-soluble pencil. You can sketch out your guidelines as normal, and whenever you start sweeping in your big brush strokes for your painting, it will just mix into the paint. First, I was really afraid that it will muddy up my colors because still this is graphite. But if you're actually just using it to sketch out and draw out your guidelines, you will not use enough of it to muddy up your colors. At least it never happened to me. So I will link this pencil below because this was a lifesaver so many times. Okay, the next thing is something I'm genuinely mad about. Because for the last 6 or 7 years, I tried to get into watercolor periodically, but I always failed. And I swear to you, it's because of this simple thing. And it's specifically a tool. Because here is the thing. I know this issue is present in other hobbies as well, but normally when you start a new hobby, everybody is telling you to just get the cheap supplies so you can get into the hobby without spending a lot. You know, a cheap paint palette, or if you're a knitter like me, like cheap yarn, cheap knitting needles. For journaling, just buy a notebook, whatever. And I understand that people say this because they want you to succeed and they don't want you to spend a lot of money on something new, but I feel like this advice is just horrible because cheap supplies will create a cheap and most likely not too enjoyable experience for you. And sure thing, a professional could paint with a stick and it will look amazing and I will be so jealous. But for us beginners, the better the tool, the most likely we can actually create something that we enjoy because it's not working against us. I truly believe if you are a serious beginner and actually want to learn something, you should go not for the cheap things labeled beginner, but for something middle of the road. So what you get will actually get you the results that you want. And I already hear you saying that, hey Fanny, the video said this is for affordable supplies. And yeah, I'm going to show you an affordable supply that I should have gotten a long time ago. My recommendation is that instead of these cheap brushes that people normally recommend for new watercolorists, actually invest into something a little bit more expensive. This is the Princeton Neptun series brush. And this is synthetic squirrel, so it's still vegan, but the difference is night and day. These Princeton brushes go normally between $7 to $20 for the everyday sizes that we would normally use as beginners. And Michaels always has a 30% off coupon on their website. And yeah, they sell these brushes in store and online. So you can literally go into Michaels, use your 30% off coupon to get a number 8 round, which is a really common size that people recommend to beginners. And maybe next week go back and pick up a number 12 round brush, which is also a really common size. Or you can bring a friend and you can use their coupon. I'm just saying, I always do that. I always bring my husband. He has another coupon in his account. And it's lovely. It's always working out. And believe me, the moment you will try these brushes instead of these cheap plastic ones, you will understand why your paintings don't look the same as the one in the tutorial that you are following. Because these soft brushes create the most amazing strokes. They always hold a lot of water and paint, and these plastic ones are just too snappy for watercolor, so you will never be able to create those amazing floral patterns or just, you know, those sweeping motions. So these are a great investment, and I would also recommend these Fumoy brushes. I already showed you these in my travel urban sketching setup video, and these are travel brushes, so you can protect them in your bag like this, or you can open them up, screw them on, and now you have a full-size brush. And a set of these is like $30 on Amazon, so it's still pretty affordable, and they always have something going on, like a sale or a coupon. So I got these for like $23, $25 on Amazon, and that was a steal. And actually Fumoy reached out and they are sending me a whole set of brushes for me to test out. And I'm so excited because if they are going to be great quality, those will be an amazing budget option as well, and really easy to get because traveling through Canada for the last month, I actually realized how big the country is. And I understood why some cities, even though they are kind of big, or like I would say they are big for my Eastern European brain, they are still kind of remote, and maybe you don't have an art supply shop, but you always have Amazon, and you most likely have a Michael's nearby. So that's why I try to recommend things that are available at those places. But you should always choose your local art supply shop if you can, because support your local places. And by the way, if you're enjoying this video, I'm sharing my whole process of becoming an artist at the age of 30. And if you are in the same shoes as me, please subscribe. I'm really trying to build a great community of future artists here. We're having so much fun. Okay, the next affordable tool you have already seen in this video and you didn't even realize. I was sneaky about it. And also because most likely most people think that this tool is really expensive, and it can be. So when you first receive your watercolors, they either arrive in a metal case like this one, or in a plastic one like this one. Or you pick up some tube colors, but you still have to put them into a palette like this. But when you will start mixing your colors, you will realize something is weird. Because the problem with these palettes is that although they are really convenient, when you start mixing your colors, the water will most likely bead up on the surface, and they will not look like juicy watercolor that you see in painting videos. First of all, whenever you are starting to mix your colors and they start beading up on your palette, it will be really hard for you to actually see the end color and how it will look like on paper. The second issue is that you can't really mix big batches of the color because it will never be a pool of color, it will be a few water droplets here and there. And honestly, it's just really annoying whenever you are painting a little bit bigger, like even an A6 or an A5 size. Mixing up your colors like one drop at a time, it's really hard. So yeah, this is not the best option. And also, if you can see, these metal palettes are always staining. And yes, there are some ways you can remove the stain, but I'm lazy. Okay, I need something better. So I started to look into these fancy ceramic palettes that real artists use in their videos. But guys, they can truly cost an arm and a leg. And I'm always happy to pay premium for like a handmade ceramic thing. But these palettes are mass-produced and they cost $30 to $50. And that price is especially outrageous when you can go into Goodwill and buy a plate for $1.50. Because all thrift stores have aisles and aisles of plates selling for a few dollars each. And I swear to you, and I promise you, that you will find a great mixing plate there. All you have to look is something white or cream colored with some dividers on the plate. So it can be a chip and dip holder or a dish for sauces or whatever. I have no idea what this dish was made for, but it's just perfect. And I paid $1.50 for this instead of $30. And I saw dozens of different options whenever I picked up mine. And the good thing is that you are not only saving money, but you are also saving a perfectly good plate from the landfill. This makes me just so happy. It really made me step up my color game and my mixing game. My mixes are way cleaner. I don't have to mix up the same color over and over again because I can just mix a bigger batch of it, so my paintings are more consistent. This plate changed my painting forever. Like, let me show you my last painting I did because it made me so happy. This is it. This is mixed media, so I have some colored pencils and some Neocolor 2 crayons on it. but I was able to mix up big batches of the greens and also the mountain color and also the color for the sky. It was just so easy to work with this, and I was also swatching out my colors on the other side of the paper. So yeah, this plate changed my paintings forever. And it's never mentioned in any beginner video, even though you can pick it up for a few dollars and you can use it forever and it never stains and it's just amazing. And please just go to your thrift store and buy one. Okay, you will love it. You will thank me later. But it's time to talk about the elephant in the room. I think that is the only tool that people say you have to like spend good money on whenever you start watercolor is paper. Specifically 100% cotton paper. And they are so right. And yes, technically you can use watercolor on almost any surface. Actually, did you know that you can paint watercolor on wood panels? I saw some paintings a few months back and it looked amazing and I need to try it. But 100% watercolor paper makes a huge difference and it is made for watercolor. They just go together. It absorbs water like a champion, and because of that you can actually use the techniques that makes watercolor, like letting colors run on the paper, showcasing granulation of the colors, and working either wet on wet or wet on dry. But 100% cotton paper is really expensive, especially because as a beginner you go through way more pages than somebody already established. Because simply as a beginner, you test more, you swatch more, you exercise more, and you are just more excited generally. So you will just go through more sheets of paper. And it is what it is, I can't help you with that. But there are two options to make it way more affordable. And the second one is dirt cheap. I promise you. The first option is to pick up those big loose sheets of paper from your local art store and cut it into smaller sheets. This is a great way to pick up really good quality paper, but because you are buying the big one, you will get the same amount of sheets for way cheaper than, for example, if you got a sketchbook from the same company. But my solution is, girl, go to HomeSense. I kid you not, my local HomeSense, the one on Spadina in Toronto, always had so many cotton watercolor papers. And sure thing they are not the fancy brands like Legion or Arches, or is it Archer? Anyway, so they are not the fancy brands, but still, they are amazing. This one is my current favorite. This is the Favini Art 25% recycled cotton paper. So it's not 100% cotton, but still it kind of behaves like it is. And I actually googled the company Favini, and they are actually a high quality Italian paper manufacturer. They just normally don't sell their paper straight to the customer, but they're selling it to other companies to create products from it. So if you are a beginner watercolorist like myself, go to HomeSense once a week, check out what they have in stock, and if you like a paper, pick up a bunch of it, because for $5, this is truly an amazing quality paper, and I would pick up a dozen more if I could. Okay, so last thing on my list, and I already talked about this so many times. I have a full collection of them, and I would get more in a heartbeat, because they fundamentally changed how I paint. So whenever you're starting out with watercolor, the hardest thing to learn in my experiences is learning how to manage water in your painting, especially making your mixes more on the wet side or more on the dry side. And I have ruined a bunch of paintings at the last minute when I started to add some kind of detail, but I overdid the water and it just created this blah in the middle of the paper, and it sucked and I hated it. It still happens. But these are my saviors, the Faber-Castell Albrecht Dürer watercolor pencils. You can use them as normal color pencils on top of your painting to create detail and texture, or you can activate them with water after you place them on your painting, so you can get rid of the texture and it becomes just one with your watercolor painting. But you are still able to use this to create specific details. And I also love these in my journals, because I love visual journaling. I just learned this about myself in the last few months, but I can sketch out something I want to remember from that day. And then, again, I could just activate it a little bit to have that watercolor feeling, but still, because I'm not using much water on them to activate them, my journal pages are not buckling or anything. They stay flat, and I can make my journal even more colorful. And they are truly my pride and joy. I use them every day. I use them constantly in so many ways. And I feel like most people never even heard about watercolor pencils. And sure thing, the Caran d'Ache Neocolor 2 water-soluble crayons are quite well known and well loved, but you can never create the same amount of detail with a crayon than with a pencil, just because of the size of it. And I will always choose precision over this thing. I feel so bad. I feel so bad, but I feel like these are kind of overhyped. Is this a hot take? Will I be cancelled? Hopefully not. I want to make a bunch of friends in this community, not enemies, so we'll see. Let me know in the comments what are your affordable watercolor tools that every beginner should know about, because I need the tips. I'm still so early on this path and I need all the help I can get. See you in the next one!